Mm-hmm. 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 Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet.
Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Hightop Sports, your Monday mashup where we recap the previous games from week 2 in college football. It was a doozy. It was hard for us to find a rebound team because everyone that played well last week just sucked this week, and everyone that sucked last week sucked again this week. It was a great one. We're going to have our over-reliable, our rebound. You like that? The peeled off team, which there was plenty of options, and of course, game of the week. This show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Give a quick shout out to Cody, the professor, who joined us today, alongside Derek, the Duck, in shambles. Our man, Cowboy Ty, joining us. No game for the Seminoles this week, so he's all smiles and rocking and rolling. But boys and girls, good to see you. Happy to have you here for week 2. Overall thoughts, just quick thoughts, Derek. Quick summary of this week. How'd you feel about it?
It was an entertaining week. I'll put that one out there. There was a great slate of games on this weekend. Unfortunately, I was hoping to feel a little bit better this morning, but that wasn't the case. Dan and company squeaked one out against inferior Boise State, but I'm not feeling too great today, to be real honest.
The Ducks are 2-0 and Florida's 1-1. I feel like we're mentally in a better place than the Ducks are today. I mean, look, Florida, we get happy over the little things. FSU loses. I was ecstatic last Monday, so I'm riding that high heading into this weekend. Well, boys, let's get into over-reliable. I just wanted to poke and jab there at Derek for just a quick second. Let's talk about Michigan gets horned, and not in the good way. Texas Longhorns take on the Michigan Wolverines and just look absolutely dominant. Jarrett Gibson is going to be a problem. True freshman, looks like a 3-year vet. They seem to be composed. They handle business. Look, this isn't the top 10 Michigan team that we saw a year ago, right? This is probably a little bit overrated of a top 10 team, but ultimately still have the pieces and the foundation of a defending national championship team. And Texas just went in there and did what Texas does. Texas right now is looking like one of the top teams, or if not the top 2 teams alongside Georgia in the country. It looks like it's Texas and Georgia. Ohio State hasn't given me enough to say, yes, they're one of those guys just yet, but Texas is absolutely rolling right now. Derek, what are your thoughts on it, man?
Yeah, Texas looked like a true national championship contender, and I think Saturday just kind of cemented that going into a hostile environment like the Big House. We kind of all expected a good game throughout. I know a lot of people were on Texas for obvious reasons, but there were a couple people who were leaning Michigan, and it never seemed like that was going to be the case. Texas kind of felt in control the entire way. Quinn Ewers looked like a true Heisman candidate. He was kind of able to do whatever he wanted, it seemed like, at times against that Michigan defense, who, we all know is going to be one of the best in the country. But then I was just kind of looking at Texas's schedule going forward too, not to look too far ahead, but in terms of tough games, Georgia and Oklahoma, aside from that, they have a bunch of scrubs like UL Monroe and Florida to come up. So, I think Texas has.
God.
Yeah, I think Texas has a chance to go 12-0 this year. If they can get by Georgia, there's some scrubs on the schedule, man.
This is supposed to be a good show. We're supposed to have a good time.
I thought we catching strays. We're 30 seconds into this thing, and we're catching strays.
Well, let's not forget Sheldon had to throw a little shot at Oregon, squeaking by Boise, so I had to get one back.
That was pre-show. That didn't count. That doesn't even count. Tyler,
I had this one in the chamber. I ain't gonna lie.
Texas' schedule.
Yeah,
I'm sure glad FSU ain't on Texas schedule because I hate to see what he'd say about them.
Texas was Florida fans were definitely making some jokes when we were watching Texas just handle their business. Ty, what did you think? Obviously, you picked Texas last week in our Pick'em show. We felt very confident in that Texas team as well all week long, like they were going to handle business, and they did. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the game went exactly like I expected it to go. I mean, when I looked down the board, it just seemed like Texas was better at every single position because they had all the returning starters on the offensive line. They had all those transfers that they got when they lost Adnan Mitchell and they lost Xavier Worthy to the NFL. They just reloaded with Isaiah Bond, who caught couple big passes early on, and then Matthew Golden from Houston, he ended up catching the touchdown. And Gunnar Helm, the tight end, who I didn't even know about, was out there looking like prime Mark Andrews. I mean, he was out there just doing it, and Michigan just had no answer for them. Warren, great story, love the kid, but he's just not up to big time football. I mean, he struggled. He couldn't find the guys, and when he did, he overthrew them. It was tipped. They were picked off. It was a dominating performance by Texas, and to me, them and Georgia are the best two teams in the country. I don't think it's close.
Cody?
Yeah, Texas is scary. Those guys look like that they just picked up right where they left off with the playoffs, shuffled some guys, but usually the offense is clunky the first 2 weeks. They are not clunky. They are high-powered. That tight end for Texas is going to be he needs to be on some watch lists because they are going to use him a lot. And that offense is perfect for Ewers if he can stay healthy, because if he doesn't have to make a lot of big throws, he can check them down. He has a lot of weapons that a slant can go instead of 5 or 10, it can go for 40 or 50 with the speed they have. The defense surprised me too. Defense DB was kind of area of question. I know Michigan wasn't Ohio State, high powered, spread them 4 or 5 wide and launch it, but boy oh boy were they good.
Look, I think you kind of nailed on the head. They don't look clunky. It reminds me of Michigan of last year. Obviously, you're defending national championship where every game they just looked sound. And 2 years ago, I think Michigan was much, 2 years ago, right? That's what Texas was last year. Just right there, just not enough to get over the hump, and it feels like they went and got those fixed pieces. I've been saying for the last couple of months, Texas is going to be a problem, not just short term, but for long term. Going into the SEC, a legitimate conference now. They've got Lambos lined up out front for everyone that comes to the school. They've got recruiting funds out the yin-yang, and they've got talent galore now. And again, after Quinn Ewers, we go to Arch Manning. There's been 3 perfect rated quarterbacks coming out of high school. It's been Quinn Ewers, Vince Young, and Arch Manning. Something in common with those boys, they all wear the orange. So that's interesting stuff there for you. But
it looks like Georgia and Texas are headed for a train wreck. I don't know. It was like week 10, week 11, whatever it is. But it looks like it's going to be 1 versus 2.
Look, we could see them twice. We could see that game happen twice this year with the SEC championship as well. And look, it's going to be interesting to see if one of those teams doesn't make it, right? Given just because they're head to head and another team goes, loses one, like a Tennessee looks like they could have a great opportunity, an Ole Miss, right? Maybe one of those teams squeaks by and Texas or Georgia's on the outside looking in. There's gonna be a lot of teams I think from the SEC that make the playoffs. It's gonna be interesting. This back half of the season is gonna be nuts. But let's get to the rebound team. Look, some people may not agree with this, but as the host, I'm a little homer. I get to have a little bit of say. But there really wasn't any teams that just kind of came out and blew your socks off. A lot of teams choked. I mean, we had a ton of options for peel off. For rebound team, there wasn't much. And look, I know it's Samford for Florida, but if you were sitting on the Florida sideline, okay, all week long, we were a little nervous. There wasn't a spread come Thursday on this game. We were stressing on what was going to happen. So for us to go out there and look like we should have, how you would expect Florida to look like Samford, that was exciting. Not to mention our Lord and Savior DJ Lagway threw for 465 yards and touchdowns. So if the biggest thing was rebound, it was the rebound of the quarterback play at Florida. Seems to have some light going into week 3 against Texas A&M. So let's talk about reliable. I'm an idiot. It's rebound. I don't know why I clicked reliable. I've been drinking too much, I guess. I don't know. It's carrying over from Saturday, boys. Like I said, DJ Lagway goes out there, throws 465 yards, 3 touchdowns, looks absolutely electric. Again, I know it's against Samford, but big bounce back for a team that got absolutely humiliated against Miami in week 1. Again, going into week 2 and into this week, a lot of talks on Billy Napier getting fired. This team could have easily just came out and gone through the motions and looked flat. Could have been a close one going to the end. The last time Florida played Samford, it was 70-52. Okay, this is a rebound going back to 3 years ago as well, boys and girls, for the Florida Gators. But all in all, DJ Lagway looked good. We're gonna have a new argument, a new civil war. We've been talking about it on who's gonna be the starter going into week 3. Me and Cody were ready to, have a divorce yesterday, talking about who it should be. I think it should be DJ. He thinks it should be Graham Mertz. We'll see how it comes out. I know what Billy's going to pick. It's going to be Graham if he's healthy. He's going to get the nod. But there we go. Snap on the forehead. Tyler, I'll go to you first. What do you think about the rebound team, and who do you think it should be going into week 3?
Listen, if Billy Napier has any chance of saving his job, he better start Lagway and just pray to God that he just does what he did the other day. I mean, Graham Mertz, I respect the guy, and he's come a long way from Wisconsin, and he's very good. He takes care of the football and stuff like that. But you need a playmaker on that football team. You need somebody that can go out and just be electric and maybe make enough plays to fire that team up and maybe steal a couple wins. But I just don't think there's any way in this world that Billy Napier wants to keep his job. He doesn't start DJ. If he don't start DJ, he's gone, without a doubt. He might even be gone if he starts DJ, but any chance of saving his job, he needs that.
Cody, how do you defend that?
Yeah, I think the thing with DJ is he shows you that he is now a deep ball threat. He's not just going to be a running quarterback. So I think that you do that Leak Tebow type deal, but I think he's a better thrower than Tebow at this moment in time than when Tebow came in as a true freshman. This kid can absolutely rip it. My only thing is when you get him up against a vaunted defense like Texas A&M with speed on that defensive line, we know the offensive line wasn't very good. The right side was actually a little bit better than the left side, and the left side is supposed to be extremely good against Samford, and they had some problems. This offensive line is the issue. We have to get it fixed. We gotta figure out somebody to stick in that guard or tackle position and get it ironed out, because if not, both these guys are going to be sitting ducks. I think DJ does give you a lot more stuff with the legs, but I think Billy Napier is going to be Billy Napier, and I think he starts Mertz if Mertz is ready. Now, concussion protocol goes 14 days if there's still side effects from that. So he may not be ready because he failed concussion protocol for Samford. So we are still up in the air. We will know Wednesday.
I think Cody's the only one that reads the handbook, because I haven't heard anybody mention this protocol thing. I'm not saying that you're not telling the truth. I'm just surprised we haven't
I've had plenty of them.
Just surprised we haven't heard like Napier go, hey, yeah, there's a protocol we have to follow. But he's like, yeah, we're gonna test him on Wednesday, see if he's good. If he's talking, if he's spitting sentences together, he's good to go. Speaking of poor offensive line, Derek, what's your thoughts? Sorry, last one. What's your thoughts?
Well, I can empathize with you guys on a spiritual level on the offensive line issue. That's one, I don't wish on my worst enemy, except for you guys, of course. But DJ Lagway, yeah, man, that guy looked like a true playmaker. And to be real honest, I do hope he is named the starter. To Cody's point, I also have a feeling Sunbelt Billy's going to Sunbelt Billy and announce Graham Mertz as a starting quarterback if Graham's able to go. And it'll probably be a train wreck again. No disrespect to Graham Mertz, but I feel like DJ gives you a little bit more. And then, one thing I really saw from this week from Florida that I liked compared to the first week against Miami was everything, because, that played Samford. But it is how they got the ball in Elijah Badger and Eugene Wilson's hands. They did a really good job of getting the ball into their playmakers' hands in space and kind of letting them do what they do. And that's something that, obviously they weren't able to do week 1, but you kind of see what the offense can bring when that does happen. So I think Florida looked good, until they actually play a collegiate level team as Samford, a high school team. But anyway, once they get into conference play, them and Vandy, they're going to be duking it out at the bottom. It's going to be a great rivalry.
You're going to have the Gator fans.
Where did we find this guy?
Yeah, you're going to have the Gator. Like, they're not going to understand the jokes and the troll here. They're going to come be at my neck for not defending their honor. I was getting yelled at in the comments because we had a caller call in yelling about us, and I would defend our honor, but I don't know. Look, all in all, I think it was a good day for the Florida Gators. Good bounce back after an atrocious week 1. Very exciting stuff. Again, we're going to have plenty to talk about on this channel for the next 4 days on who it's going to be. And again, monitoring the status of Graham Mertz. I hope he is healthy. I wouldn't go into Texas A&M having 2 healthy quarterbacks. Although Warren, the third string, got a touchdown too. So I mean, we're apparently we're loaded at quarterback position, boys and girls. No need to fear when it comes to Florida Gators. Let's talk about our sponsor here today, boys and girls, Prize Picks. So the boys got together. We put our heads together on what we felt was the best for Monday Night Football, which is happening later on tonight. We had a little fan prize pick lineup earlier this week. Did okay, not fantastic. It did okay. It didn't get a W, but this one right here, these 4 heads, these 4 masterminds got together. Christian McCaffrey to have more than either a rushing or a reception touchdown. That guy's an absolute beast. Should be a lock there. Breece Hall to have more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown, running back for New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers. Was old Derek the Duck. Said less than 235 yards passing. And then
That was me.
That was Cody. Sorry. Derek had more for Brandon Ayuk. Derek had more, for Brandon Ayuk on 49.5 receiving yards. Just signed his big contract. So when you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks, and Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So be sure to download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code Hightop. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code Hightop on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Again, links in the description. Check out Prize Picks. Again, code is Hightop. Now, boys and girls, we're going to go ahead and dive into You Like That. This team was on our board last week for Rebound Team, and this team's back on the board again because they wore some asses out. The production team's in shambles over there. They're just clicking buttons. I don't even know what's what anymore. Huskers back up the talk. They were out there running their mouth. I was following at this earlier this week. Linebackers, coming out saying they're not gonna be able to stop us. Raiola is ham. Like, man, this is some ballsy talk going into this game after getting clapped last year. And by golly, did they back it up? I mean, that defense handled their business. They were bringing 4. They could have brought 3, and they were getting back there. All 3 of you liked the Huskers in this game, and by golly, you guys were spot on. The Buffs are in shambles right now. Everyone, the backs are against the wall. The tail's tucked between the legs. They got absolutely spanked. Nebraska, look, they play good old-fashioned smash mouth football. They won the trenches on both sides of the ball. Raiola, 185, not what he was in game 1, but did what they needed him to do. Didn't make any mistakes, kept it clean in the pocket, was able to be decisive. This fan base has been clamoring for this right here. The big Go Big Red has been fired up for the last 20 years as if every year was going to be this year. And if you take a look at their schedule in the Big Ten, this thing, they might bust it wide open here. Okay, they don't really have much. Their big games they've got left, Ohio State and USC. Those are their 2 biggest games on their schedule, both away. Now, if they have both those games or at least one of those games at home, I call for a huge upset headed into those games. The rest of the Big Ten, they play Wisconsin, Michigan State. They play that lower half, which they've been clustered up with. But out of those teams, Nebraska looks to be the best and I think most sound out of those teams. Look, USC looks much better than I thought they would. I was really surprised. I think they're going to be trouble, especially at USC. Ohio State obviously considered one of the best, but Nebraska could be one of those teams. Again, going to be a very interesting thing to see how this team plays out. They missed the Big Ten championship. No big deal, right? They're sitting at 10-2 in that 3rd spot, while let's say maybe an Oregon, USC, Ohio State are fighting for that 1-2. It's going to be an interesting one. Nebraska could squeak into the playoffs, and by golly, that could be a team that could be a fun one to watch if they happen to get a playoff game round 1. Cody, your thoughts? You had them last week. You feel pretty good about it, man.
Yeah, I liked them last week, and truthfully, I had to watch the condensed version, so I didn't see every single snap. But boy, oh boy, that defense is pretty good, and that's what I was thinking. I thought the game was going to be closer, but when Shador's literally on his back and leaving with 2 minutes left of the 4th and just packing it in to go home, it just tells you that that Colorado program is an absolute shambles. When they played a real team and a team that is built to run it down your throat and then can throw the ball a little bit, and they're going to lean on their defense, that it spells trouble.
Derek?
Yeah, Nebraska looked really good all the way around. As Cody said, I thought their defense looked really good. I know a lot of people are kind of clamoring over Nebraska, but they did play FCS Colorado this week. So, you got to keep that one in mind. But the one thing that sticks out with Nebraska for me kind of moving forward is the 12 penalties and the 3 for 12 on 3rd down. So kind of in that critical down and distance, that's something where they were really lapsing again this week. And, it's for that reason, if they don't get those little things cleaned up, I think there's going to be an upset somewhere. I know Illinois has been playing really well early on. Mind you, it's Illinois. But with that being said, they just played Kansas really tough yesterday. Indiana looks all right. They put up like 77
got Iowa
on
too.
Western Illinois or whatever. But yeah, point is, I don't know if Nebraska doesn't get those little things cleaned up, once they head into conference play, eventually someone's going to catch them. Mind like the SEC, the Big Ten, if you falter 1 week, you're probably going to end up paying for it. So I think that's a reality for Nebraska unless they get those little things cleaned up in the next couple of weeks here.
It's week 2. I'm definitely overreacting on the 10-2 run, right? But when you look at the schedule, quick overhaul, and like, wow, this Nebraska team looks light years ahead of it. They finally have a key piece, which is Dylan Raiola. They could get it going. But again, Nebraska and these guys, they typically find a way to lose a game like you just mentioned, that Iowa game, maybe the Illinois game, a game that you wouldn't expect them to lose. Nobody's even going to turn on because you're like, this should be in Nebraska. But it seems like all these kind of lower half teams in that conference have found a way. Wisconsin, we can't ever sleep on Wisconsin. That's an old-fashioned smash mouth football. You're really zesty tonight, Derek. I mean, you just nobody is safe. Tyler, what were your thoughts on the game, man?
I mean, I think it's taking out his frustration on Oregon on all these other teams, but that's just me. But moving on, I think this was my sleeper team of the year was Nebraska. And the reason it was because I thought that they were missing a key piece, and I thought Dylan Raiola was the guy. I thought, like, when he was coming out, like, this was a guy. This was a recruit we're looking for. And they use so many guys that I think that, like, they can, handle their business. But you like the Duck said, you got to clean up the small stuff, and you got to be able to get third downs. You got to get off the field. Like, they played Colorado, and they wore down to Shador. But Colorado's offensive line is not good, and I've been saying it all year, and they're overrated. They have great skill positions, but in the trenches, they just get absolutely manhandled. And that's why they'll win 5 games like they're good, like they did last year. But as far as
so
Nebraska,
10-2's not on the board. Oh, this is
that?
Colorado. Colorado's going to win 5 games. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. No. Colorado's going to win 5 games. So, like, I'm not really to hand Nebraska over the trophy of 10-2, but I do think they're probably going to lose a game they shouldn't, but they're probably going to win a game that they probably shouldn't either. So, like, I could see them winning 9 games. I don't know if they get to 10, but I could definitely see them winning 9.
8-9 wins for Nebraska would be absolutely huge for that program, regardless. Though that would really set things
100%,
into transaction,
100%.
and they're recruiting very well this year as well too. So this would just
and Raiola is going to get better as the year goes on. I mean,
Sure.
he's going to continue to learn.
One last thing about Nebraska, you look at that back end of the schedule. They got USC, they got Wisconsin, they got Iowa. That's 3 tough teams they're going to have to deal with on those last 3 weeks.
true. And look,
Last year, sorry, my bad. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was saying, no, like I talked about this one prior. Like last year, they lost those games also. They lost they were losing the 3-point games. I think they lost 3 3-point games in a row. To whereas maybe this year they find a way to win those games, and that would give them probably 9 wins.
8 or 9. Yep. So speaking of a team finding a way to always lose and just ruin their entire season, we were having this same conversation last week about them. They get a big win, and they were our "you like that team of the week." And we were like, their schedule's easy. They're gonna just stroll on into the playoffs. Here we are, a week later, and now they're being peeled off.
Jeez.
I love that jam. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, embarrassed at home against Northern Illinois. But if you would have asked me, I would have told you that Northern Illinois was going to do this. You know why? That because we have a product at Florida Gators called George Gums Jr. He is an absolute beast coming off the edge. He had 3 tackles for a loss and a sack yesterday, and he comes from Old Faithful, Northern Illinois. So you should have asked me who was going to get it done on Saturday, because I would have told you the boys were going to put it to him. When in 16-14, I think it was, just an absolute nail biter. Riley Leonard, I think what did he throw for? I have it up here. 20 for 32 with 2 interceptions. Just a little bit of maybe a hangover from that big game against Texas A&M under the lights. I don't know. But Riley Leonard, I mean, he had moments at Duke last year. Obviously, had the injury that happened. Maybe that was a thing. I don't know. After playing so well against Texas A&M, do you think they just got caught off the back of their foot? Tyler, what are your thoughts, Ty?
Well, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but at Notre Dame, they can't find a way to, like, when they get these quarterbacks, like last year with Sam Hartman, and he had great numbers at Wake Forest, and he's terrible at Notre Dame. Riley Leonard seemed to be good at Duke. He's terrible at Notre Dame. So there's something going on there. I don't know if it's an offensive thing. I don't know what it is. But there was a play late in that game where Notre Dame was up by 1, and they were driving, And for whatever God-known reason, Riley Leonard threw a ball that should have been thrown over the top because the safety was peeling off to the side, and he decided to throw it on a line, and it was about 15 yards short, and it got picked off, and they ended up losing because of it. All they had to do was run the ball, win the game, and that was the end of it. But I don't know what Notre Dame's doing. I don't know what Riley Leonard's doing, but hats off to Northern Illinois because they came in and they said we were going to win this football game, and they did. I mean, power to them.
$1.4 million Northern Illinois from the MAC was paid to go to Notre Dame and get absolutely hammered. Derek, are we going to get some more jabs here? What do we think, big guy?
Well, I mean, I started out saying before the season that we do this every year with Notre Dame. This was bound to happen, whether it's Northern Illinois this year or it was Marshall, last year, 2 years ago, whatever the case is. Like, we do this little dance with Notre Dame every year. But Riley Leonard, that dude just looks absolutely confused out there. Through 2 games, he's averaging 160 yards through the air per game, 2 interceptions, 0 touchdowns. And then, at times he seems to rely on his legs a little bit to bail him out of trouble. And that's not something he was able to do yesterday. He had 11 rushes for 16 yards. And then as a whole, they averaged 4.3 yards a carry, which isn't, awful, but, it's not world burning numbers by any means. So to me, it looks like Notre Dame still searching for an identity with, Riley Leonard at the helm. These guys are in trouble. It's, I don't think Texas A&M's a great program, but Notre Dame also didn't look like a world burner week 1. So it's really hard to tell what we have with this Notre Dame team.
We did say that too, right? We said that game 1, although it was a game of the week for us last week, it was fun football. Both teams look sloppy. We kind of chalked it up to being a week 1 thing, but now maybe more than just that after week 2. Also, shout out to California taking down Auburn and Hugh Freeze in Auburn. I mean, there are so many. Look, they weren't on the map to be peeled off, right? But that's a big L on that one too. And again, Michigan losing 2 to Texas. But Cody, thoughts? What are you looking at, Cody? You good? You're
yeah. I was scanning. I was trying to find. So there was an interesting fact about Northern Illinois. They've knocked off I think it's 8 top 30 teams in the nation. If you have some prominence, do not schedule those guys, okay? Because they feast off of it. They called them boneyard games. I remember watching it. There was a list of them. I was trying to find the list, but Northern Illinois is known to upset your day. They will knock you right out of the playoffs. Do not schedule them because it's going to be a bad day for you. It's as expected. When they started rolling that, I was like, oh boy, this is a team that's not worried about it. They played with swagger. They played with speed. Defense looked good. And Notre Dame had absolutely zero fight left in them at the end of it. They went through a dogfight, and I think that's going to be a 2-game skid coming up next week.
Oh, man, Notre Dame could fall heavy. Look, and we talked about it last week. There was an advantage, somewhat of an advantage, not having to play that conference game. Disadvantage given they're not given a bye, but they're guaranteed to play 1 less game. Now, that's kind of hurting them, right? Because with the schedule the way that it is, not the most electric schedule, which we talked about last week. Now, if they win this thing out, they're still going to limp into this thing, just given the dominoes that will probably fall in front of them. But very interesting thing to see how it's going to play out and if Notre Dame will be into the conversation by the end of it. Tyler?
Could Northern Illinois be that team that gets the 12 seed? I don't know. We're going to find out, right? The MAC seems to be okay. Bowling Green gave Penn State all they could handle. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the MAC's not as bad as we possibly think.
Well, look, you take a look at this as bracketology here from Andy Staples. This was kind of his up-to-date of the playoff bracketology of how he feels it's going to play out. And first, look, G5 contenders, there's Northern Illinois in there. Slowly creeping in there. USF in there as well. Gave Bama some trouble, although the game ended in a blowout. Boise State, I don't know who they played last week or on Saturday, but they obviously
they played Oregon, and I tell you,
they took an L.
They gave Oregon.
All I can tell you is no, prof. They took an L. We're just gonna leave it at that. They lost. Sorry about what's Sheldon? What's your line? You lost. Yeah, they lost. That's all that matters. Yeah, you got it. That's all that matters.
I think it's a little disrespectful here. I got to say this. Penn State was struggling against Bowling Green, okay, and barely wins. Oregon plays a rivalry. Look, I'm giving Oregon credit. Oregon goes up against Boise State, who they've never beaten, and Boise State isn't no joke. Bowling Green isn't a G5 contender, and Penn State limped by them. He's got Penn State as a 10 seed. There's obviously a lot of concern on that O-line. But look, Nebraska first 4 out. I think that's a huge compliment to Nebraska to be the first 4 out, which is kind of what we were alluding to at the beginning of this. Look, I think this thing's going to change plenty of times. Like the only thing I think that feels pretty locked in is that Utah in that 4th spot with that Big 12 championship. Ohio State does not, or Oklahoma State does not look as dominant as they once did. But look at the SEC: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams from the SEC. That's something that I've been saying this entire time, that 6 teams will be in there. And again, Mizzou is a team that I've been high on. Tennessee is a team that unfortunately will probably be up there. Texas, like we said. And then Bama, I don't know. Bama is still kind of a whatever, but Ole Miss, I mean, that's just, it's crazy. And that's where I think look, we don't see Notre Dame now. Notre Dame's not even the first 4 out. They must have lost a ton of respect after taking that out. I wasn't going to talk about this, but it kind of, I think with how that conversation went with Northern Illinois, it worked out. So glad I had it on the ready to go. Let's get into game of the week. This is a team that I messed up on the pick'ems in week 1, but they got their they're rolling too. They weren't in that bracketology, but give it a couple more weeks. They're my other Nebraska from another conference. Game of the week goes to Syracuse and Georgia Tech. This was just a good old fashioned just back and forth shootout. Syracuse pulls away. They're up like 31, I think, to 10 or something like that. But then Georgia Tech came back with a vengeance and was about 28-31, and it kind of had a chance there at the end. But my, Kyle McCord, boys and girls, don't pinch me, okay? Buddy is running right now. Third best quarterback in the country with passing yards, things like that. He's a little bit, people are not going to like this. I'm full of hot takes today. The Heisman Watch, they're sending the bus out there to do some interviews, okay? They might be putting getting a seat ready for him, as he's over 381 yards last game with 4 touchdowns. I think he was 350 in game 1 with 4 touchdowns against a Georgia Tech team that kept DJU to, I think, 98 yards or something like that. So this man was
not that impressive.
It was impressive to me. This game was personal. There was an interview with Fran Brown at the end of it. I guess Georgia Tech coach was kind of talking about physicality, and he was talking about, hey, when you go for it on 4th down, that tells me that you feel like you're stronger and more physical than me. I loved mentality. This mentality is needed in Syracuse. Syracuse is one of those teams that they're not the Nebraska of old, because they're not like, they don't have the same kind of culture, but there's a good fan base for Syracuse, and they were rowdy there Saturday. And look, I maybe sound like a broken record here, but if you take a look at their schedule as well too, they're like the Mizzou or like the Nebraska, where they've got a great quarterback, they've got a good foundation, they've got a good coach with a good head on his shoulders, and their schedule isn't daunting, right? They've got Boston College, who looks really good, who's ranked. These two teams could look the same here. NC State is abysmal, and then they have the rest of the ACC. They don't play Miami, they don't play Clemson, they don't play FSU. I mean, this is theirs for the taking. I mean, I know I sound crazy, but again, from what Kyle McCord, you got a guy that played in the Big Ten last year. He's got great experience, and he looks really, really good. Somebody could take you a long way. Derek, what are your thoughts, man?
Syracuse, they looked great overall, and I think their identity right now looks significantly different than the Syracuse of old. I think Fran Brown coming there and kind of taking over that program was something that fan base desperately needed. In year 1, we're kind of able to see the changes that are already taking place there. But yeah, kind of like you said, I think what really benefits Syracuse is the fact that they play in a down conference right now. I mean, obviously, Florida State isn't quite what we thought it is. I'm always going to call Miami fraudulent until the end of time. So that's what that is. Clemson clearly has some flaws. NC State is a little bit overrated, as we kind of saw yesterday. So I think, like you said, Syracuse has a chance to make a run at the conference. My only concern with them is, their defense. I think the first 2 weeks between Georgia Tech and Ohio, their defense has been taken to the edge multiple times by those teams. And I'd say their offenses are far from elite by any stretch. So I think that defense is going to be what Syracuse's Achilles heel is. If they're able to shore that one up a little bit and be a dominant force moving forward, I think that offense is going to be just fine, and Syracuse could be successful. But if they don't get that defense shored up, after this little 3-game stretch here with Stanford, Holy Cross, and UNLV, once they head into conference play a little bit deeper here, things could get a little hairy if that defense continues to struggle.
So they do play Miami. I misspoke. They played Miami last game of the year at Syracuse. So their schedule real quick. They play Samford next at home. Holy Cross. Should be a quick 4-0 start. Then they go to UNLV, who we just saw that bracketology feel like they could be a 12th seed, right? So that's on the road, first game on the road for Fran Brown at Syracuse. That one could be a loss, right? That one could be a tough game. Then you got NC State. I think we all can agree NC State is not the NC State of old. At Pittsburgh, that's a tough game. That's one of those games that you can get slept on at night. Pittsburgh is a tough team to play at home at defense. Again, my point is, though, that's not like they're completely unfavored. You used to look at that Syracuse and go, oh, this is a walk, right? VTech is not what we thought VTech was going to be. Boston College at Boston College, that one's going to be a tough one, right? Then at Cal, then UConn, then at Miami. So, look, there's some games in there definitely. Like, we're going to find out really quickly if Syracuse is the truth. Because, again, G-Tech coming into this was ranked 24th. And they were able to handle them. But again, I think that was a little overrated because FSU is not a top 25 team, as we have found out pretty quickly. Cody, what are your thoughts on Syracuse, Fran Brown? You're a big Fran Brown guy, big guy.
Yeah, I like Fran Brown a lot. That guy's an elite recruiter. If he can get to the ACC championship his first year, boy oh boy, watch out because the recruiting trail is going to be hotter than a $2 pistol. I mean, he is going to burn it up. Elite recruiter. And what I like about him is the team has taken on the temperament of him. Fran's a spicy guy. You know, he's fiery. He's going to tell you when you do wrong. Penalties. That's my question. They got to clean up the penalties. That game, Georgia Tech, which is a team that can come back for sure. They did it to Miami last year. They almost did it to Syracuse again. They have to keep the foot on the throat when they're way up like that. That's something that's going to come in time. But I'm going to tell you, watch out for Syracuse because it's another team. And any given Saturday, they can definitely beat you. And they got a linebacker, number 10, that is incredible.
Tyler, I know this hurts you to say that. I mean, Syracuse could be taking the spot of the ACC, but let me hear what you got to say about them.
I mean, I got to be honest. Like, besides Miami, like I think it's wide open. And I'm not saying that Miami is. We don't know yet. We're learning, but they look really good. So my point is that I think that Syracuse has a chance to win this thing. Kyle McCord, to me, is playing way better than he did at Ohio State, and it's not because he has better weapons. Besides one guy, Rondé Gaston, who's one of my favorite players in the country, he's going to be a first-round pick. But Syracuse has the talent on the offensive side of the ball. They have Allen at the running back who can catch the ball, and he runs the ball well, and they tend to block very, very well on top of that. But the defense has got to make a few stops, and the defense is got to hold it together just long enough. I mean, they could probably give up 28 points a game and probably still win. So I think Syracuse has a chance at this.
I love it. Look, if I've learned anything from hanging out with Tyler the last couple of weeks, if the moment he gets hot on a team is the moment you need to go away from him. So maybe we should all just revert.
They're going to be a field off next
Nebraska.
week.
Yeah, that's true. They were the rebound team though. We weren't really high on Nebraska, but you had some love for Dylan Raiola. So, but yeah, they're definitely going to. If they're peeled off next week, who do they play? They play Samford. That is kind of on Friday night. That is Samford could come in and kind of punch. It's not a game like it's a game they could lose. They 100% could be peeled off. If that happens, they'll have to be the peeled off game, just given the track record we have for the first 2 weeks.
No doubt about it.
Oh man, what a week 2. That's what I love about it, man. Week 3. Let me see what the slate is so far. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I know Florida's at A&M, which is obviously going to be great. I mean, Florida, it's craziness from here on out for that schedule. So it should be a good one.
We got the Civil War this weekend. Well, the former Civil War this weekend.
We have Oregon and Oregon State, right?
We do.
You'll be on our Saturday game day show, if I'm not mistaken, right, Derek?
That is correct.
We got FSU and Memphis. That's going to be a dogfight. I think I mean, look, in a way, you're going to truly see like, hey, is FSU in the shitter, complete shitter? Because Memphis isn't no slouch either. They're the kind of they're going to be in real trouble for you. And look, California doesn't look easy. It could be 0-4 real quick, Ty. And
There's no easy games on the card, buddy, for Florida State this year. No easy games on the card.
We got LSU at South Carolina. South Carolina just absolutely just skull-dragged Kentucky. I mean, they had Kentucky by a billion, and they got manhandled. And LSU, look, they should look better against, and I think LSU goes in there and handle business. But playing at Cox Stadium, it gets hard and heavy in there. Pause. And LSU could find themselves in some heat of trouble. Bama goes to Wisconsin. They just struggled against USF. Could they find themselves? I mean, there's some games here. We got Boston College and Mizzou at Mizzou. We're going to find out real. That is a game. 12:45. I mean, talk about punching me in the dick on that one. What a horrible time slot that is for that game. I don't think anybody expected those two teams to be something, but that is going to be probably. We got to find a Mizzou or Boston College guy for College Game Day because I love it. That is going to be a game, ladies and gentlemen. Sit down and grab yourself a brewski because that's going to be some good old-fashioned football. West Virginia Pitt, just a good old-fashioned rivalry. Nobody's going to care, but we'll hear about it for the entire week about how great that rivalry is, which I love. Oregon State at 3:30. Thank goodness not another midnight game, finally. Hey, Oklahoma Tulane, upset alert. Just keep your eyes peeled. Don't sleep on it.
Tulane is the real deal.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Watch out.
Keep your eyes peeled. What else do we got? Man, there's a good slate, boys. Good slate. That's just the 3:30 games, which rolls right into our 7 o'clock games, which look not great. It gets quiet. Georgia, Kentucky. That one doesn't look as exciting anymore. UCF, TCU. That one's going to be going at 7:30. Colorado State University. That one's going to be a good one. That one had some spice to it last year. What do we got?
Horton.
That's
Colorado
it.
State. Remember that name?
Who?
He's a baller. Torrey Horton.
The wide receiver. Yeah, oh yeah. Look, it's front heavy, boys. Top heavy in the morning. So crack the beers open early. Make sure you get up and early with Derek at 6:30 on the West Coast there because it looks like everything is at that 12:30, 3:30 time slot, and then it kind of cools down a little bit. So we will see how it goes. But man, great week. I mean, I don't think we really have a bad week. Oh, Arizona and Kansas State play on Friday. 2 ranked teams.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
That'll be a good one.
Kansas plays UNLV. I mean, Friday's a doozy. I mean, goodness. I think we are in a look outside of Georgia and Texas. I think college football is wide open. And Ohio State. I'll give Ohio State the right now. I'm not sold on them just yet. They haven't played anybody, so I can't give them that just yet. But I think this college football season, I've been saying it from the beginning, is the most electric it's going to be because of the 12-team playoff, and it just feels like there is some levelness to it. And I think NIL has obviously changed the game completely, just the focus and just from week to week. I don't know, just upsets seem to be more and more prone to happening. Well, gentlemen, fantastic show. Appreciate y'all coming on and hanging out with us this morning on our Monday mashup. We got Cowboy Ty with us, the Brady Bunch box. We got Cody, the professor from Hightop Sports Recruiting, and Derek, the grumpy duck. Zelmer with Hightop Sports Oregon, boys. You guys be good. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy. I can't find my mouse. Enjoy today's content. This show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Be sure to download it and use the code Hightop. Until next time, boys and girls, peace and love, baby.